New Comic Book Day is 2 days away, so it's time to take a look at the books on the pull list. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is the pull list. It is my weekly video where I tell you of the books coming out this week, which ones are on my pull list, what's on the chopping block, and some other books that maybe should be on your radar. But this time we're looking at books coming out Wednesday, November 15th, which is my mom's birthday. Shout out to you, moms. But anyway, a lot of new comics coming out, a lot of exciting comics coming out, and a lot of new number ones debuting this week. So definitely a nice day to be interested in new comics. So let's go ahead and get started with the book that I am most excited about. And this week, that is Black Panther, issue number 6. Black Panther, written by Evel Ewing. The art this time around is done by a different artist. It's not Chris Allen. Let's look it up. I'm never prepared. All right. Art this time around by Matt Horak. Anyway, so this issue, or last issue, we kind of saw a tease or cameo or a straight up appearance of this new villain, Kivu Ma. Kivu Ma, it's unclear right now whether it's like some like rival god to Bast or like some incarnation of like some old street thug. Like, I don't know. Whoever Kivu Ma is, though, he does not have great intentions. That man is sinister, and he seems to be inspiring the local crime lords, if you will. And, you know, since Black Panther came in on the scene, stuff has just been going all kinds of awry in these crime families. And so it looks like Kivu Ma is going to come face to face with T'Challa if this cover is any indication of the greater story inside. I am very curious to see exactly who Kivu Ma is and what their motivations are, because so far this whole series has been about T'Challa like learning about Wakanda from a perspective he's never really had to experience firsthand. So it's only right that they're just straight up people, gods, influences that he's just completely ignorant to. But if Kivu Ma is like some rival god to Bast, then it's like really interesting to me that T'Challa doesn't know about him at all, considering, you know, Wakandan royalty is supposed to be like super well trained and educated. So you would just think there's anything about Wakandan history to know, T'Challa would know it. You would think. So anyway, I'm curious to see how this is going. But this has a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A only because that 1 in 25 variant is beautiful, but I can't pay more than cover price for a comic book anymore. Just can't do it. So that's the first book on the pull list from Marvel Comics this week. Let's continue at the House of Ideas with Fantastic Four issue number 13. Now, Fantastic Four, written by Ryan North. I kept wanting to say Jeremy Adams. Written by Ryan North, has been fun. Nice one and done, maybe sometimes done in 2 story arcs. In this case, we return to the whole dinosaur island type thing. I did not read issue 11 yet. Therefore, issue 12 is like, oh snap, they're still doing the dinosaur thing. Now, all that to say, it's been a very quick read, so I don't think it's going to be difficult to get caught up at all. And it's been fun. I'm very curious to see how in the world we got to Dino Doom, though. Like, it's worth buying just for that cover A. So buy it. Cover price on that is $3.99. And let's go to the last book on the Marvel pull list, which is Jean Grey, issue number 4, written by Louise Simonson, art by Bernard Chang. This has been a great series. I have been like, you know, I don't know if it was going to be for me, because most of the time when you get like a classic or well-renowned creator from the past on these Marvel titles, it's usually like some blast from the past series that has nothing to do with what's happening in present day. And that hasn't been the case. This has been like a sort of journey through Jean Grey's life, an examination of how the Phoenix Force has worked in her, and over the years, and like how she could have done better and what she should have done differently. This issue, we're going to finally get like a sort of conflict, or we're entering the Madeline Pryor era of Jean Grey's life. It's going to be interesting for me as someone who like hasn't read a ton of classic X-Men. Like I've just gotten through the Dark Phoenix saga in, X-Men history or Claremont's run. It's been interesting to see some of these like seminal events in Jean Grey's life from a reflective standpoint, while firmly being grounded in everything that's happening right now with the fall of X and things that I won't spoil, but you should absolutely read. Jean Grey, definitely a great series so far. I'm excited for issue 4. Cover price on that is $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. So that's it for the Marvel Comics on the pull list. As long as I stick to the list, those will cost me $12 this week. So not a bad week for Marvel. Let's jump over to the distinguished competition over at DC Comics and see what they've got cooking up. And the first book on my pull list is Batman and Robin, issue number 3. Batman and Robin, written by Joshua Williamson. Art on this is by Simone DeMeo. The series has been fine. I was wondering like how well it was going to tie into like all the events of the Gotham War. And as of issue 2, not all that well, but, loosely tied in it, I guess. It is fun though to see Bruce and Damian back together, back as father and son, back working together as Batman and Robin. And, it's kind of the classic Bruce and Damian stuff. Damian trying to prove himself, Bruce trying to be a father. In this sense, Bruce is really trying to get Damian to go to school, and Damian's like, nah, bro. So that's been fun. All the while, there's this new sort of mystery brewing. There's a new criminal element in Gotham. There's a new villainess. I don't know. There's no need to like feminize terms, I guess. She's a villain. But anyway, the new villain who looks very familiar and who has a very familiar name. Like, I feel like just saying her name is a spoiler, so I won't. But new villain, and she has kidnapped White Rabbit. So anyway, in this issue, Bruce and Damian are going to go try to like free White Rabbit so that they can kind of get the upper hand on this new criminal. So interesting stuff. Like I said, I think the only knock against it is that it doesn't seem to be firmly planted in whatever else is going on in Gotham right now, which every book doesn't have to be like an exact, continuation of the others, but it's just like, why this book right now is how it feels. Gotta say though, love Simone DeMeo's art. Simone DeMeo feels like what Nick Draper Ivy would be with like a ton of prep time. Like it's very kinetic. It's very like, Eastern inspired art. Man, only knock is that sometimes it's difficult to read like the page. It seems so manga inspired that sometimes like the page layouts, the panel layouts your eye doesn't naturally go to the right place on the page. That's been my issue with it, but it looks beautiful. Batman and Robin, issue number 3 out this week with a cover price of $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. I'm going to try not to go on a rant about DC prices, but hey, we still got 3 more books to look at. Next up is Detective Comics issue 1077. This written by Ram V with art by Jason Shawn Alexander. It's the second issue in the Batman Outlaw storyline. And I haven't read the first issue in that storyline yet. Came out just 2 weeks ago. I probably should start reading these a little bit quicker because they're going to be coming out bi-weekly. And next thing you know, I'm going to have a stack of Detective Comics issues, 10 issues high. And that's not going to go well for me. I heard great things about issue 1 or 1076 though. So excited about that. Cover price on that is also $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. Next 2 books on the list I've actually read. I'm actually caught up on. So let's go ahead with Green Lantern issue number 5. Green Lantern written by Jeremy Adams with art by Zermanico. Either way, great art. I really love this art. This art feels like watching a Green Lantern animated series, and it's just great. It's an improvement on the art style that we've been seeing in a lot of the most recent DC films. I don't know how to break that down, but I love the art. But the art, as great as it is very much complemented by Jeremy Adams' skillful writing. Now, I, was pretty loud with my critique of Hal Jordan as a character, starting with issue 1 of this book. Like, I just never really cared about Hal Jordan. He seems smug. He seems entitled. Well, issue 4 kind of cleared up a lot of that for me. Like, not so much that Hal just became a better person, but Barry Allen made a guest appearance and their team up was cool. But we got some really nice character moments where Hal being a little bit vulnerable and Barry like encouraging him like, yo, like chill out and chase your girl. Like, don't chase her like a creep, but like, do the right thing. And so I was like, okay, dang, like that was a very cool, humanizing moment. And I can sympathize with Hal a little bit based on his reservations about his relationship with Carol Danvers. And I was like, okay, that's very, very cool. Other than that, Hal just makes it fun to be a superhero, makes it look like fun to be a superhero. And that's something that I loved about Jeremy Adams' run on Wally West's Flash title. And I'm kind of mad that Jeremy Adams isn't on Flash anymore. But this Green Lantern series is shaping up to be the same, like, sort of really bright, fun book that Jeremy Adams' Flash was. So I think it's a credit to the writer, also a credit to the characters, and just a great book so far through 4 issues. By the way, Sinestro is doing Sinestro things. And apparently, somehow, he's going to get a hold of a Red Lantern ring, because that's what they said on the cover of this book. And I'm wondering how. Oh, wait, I remember how. Anyway, that's that. There's some very interesting stuff happening with the United Planets as well, but I won't spoil it. Cover price on this one is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the last book on the DC Comics pull list this week is Superman Lost, issue number 8. Superman Lost, written by Christopher Priest, art by Carlos Pagulian, with a few other artists every now and then as well. Issue 7 was very good. The series overall being about how Superman got lost in space and time and came back like 30 years later, however long it had been for him, but it only been like a day for the rest of the DC universe, and him trying to slowly unpack that trauma and get back to being. And so it's him trying to unpack that trauma and get back to being Superman. We're kind of getting 2 stories at once. We're getting what happened in space, and we're also getting his sort of slow path to recovery once he's been back on Earth. And Lois did something in the last issue to try to help speed up that recovery. That backfired like crazy because Lex is just straight up diabolical. Like, anyway, the stakes just got raised so much higher. There's 3 issues left. We got to figure out, is Superman going to get back to being Superman so that he can save Lois? And there was a great moment where, Lex does what he does. I won't spoil what he did. And Lois is like, are you serious? This is what you did? And Lex is like, what, would you rather me like tie you to train tracks? And I was like, oh, that is funny. That was great. So it's been a great nod to it's been a great character study on Superman and what makes him tick. One thing that I'm kind of waiting to see is so far Superman has had like much perseverance and has been hopeful through all of this. And so I'm wondering where the trauma comes in, because he seems to be pretty well adjusted to this time and space, or in this journey back to space. So I'm like, things have to take a bleaker turn at some point. And hey, we're 7 issues in, with issue 8 coming out this week. Cover price on this is also $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. I forgot to mention the backup story in Green Lantern, by the way. It's leading to this sort of Sinestro Sons. I think it's called, Sinestro Sons series, or Sinister Sons. This kid trying to prove that he belongs as the son of Sinestro. Interesting stuff. I liked it. It was cute. But anyway, that's the DC Comics pull list. That's the total. If I grab all the books on the list, don't buy anything extra, those will cost me $20 this week. And that's not a bad showing from DC, if I'm being real. So, cool. Now let's skip over to the indies, where there's only one book on the indie pull list, and you can probably guess which one it is. No need. I'll tell you. It's The Walking Dead Deluxe, issue 77. Another issue for my custom bind project that I've all but abandoned. I don't think I'm going to custom bind them, but I think it will still be cool to own all The Walking Dead in color. So there we go. Cover price on that is $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And my indie books are going to cost me $4 this week. So my grand total, if I buy everything on the list, don't buy anything extra, don't get sucked in by some ratio variant or whatever, my indie books will cost me $36 this week. But here are some other books that are on the radar, because like I said, there are a lot of new number ones this week, and a continuation of a very beloved franchise and series. So first up is G.I. Joe issue number 31. 301. Written by Larry Hama. Larry Hama has famously written every issue of G.I. Joe, and he's not going to stop now. So now that it's under Skybound, kind of get a new reinvigoration of the title. G.I. Joe is making a surprise little cameo in the last issue of Transformers from last week, which has me curious about the title. I feel like the Larry Hama G.I. Joe isn't the one to get into. I think there's another G.I. Joe #1. There's at least a Duke series coming out. I don't know. I got to figure out what all's happening in the Energon universe. I'm kind of behind. I was only going to read Transformers, but now G.I. Joe looks enticing as well. And hey, if you wanted to get a new jumping in point for this long, ongoing, epic Larry Hama run, now's the time. And in addition to issue 301 coming out, they're doing a director's cut, or they call it the Larry Hama cut of G.I. Joe issue #1 from like way back then. So both of those have a cover price of $3.99. And there you go. Another thing to look out for, Geiger, Ground Zero, issue #1. I was all excited about Geiger because it was written by Jeff Johns and with art by Gary Frank and colors by Brad Anderson. Just beautiful. It's the Three Jokers team working on their own creator-owned project. Now that they've got the whole Ghost Machine Productions sort of studio company back up and running. This is one of our first kind of tastes into Geiger as he stands in a shared universe with other creator-owned characters. I've not read the original Geiger, so I got to get caught up before I jump into that. But that's a new #1 out this week. Cover price is $3.99. Next up, from Marvel is Deadpool 7 Slaughters, issue #1. I think it's a one-shot. I think it's just Deadpool 7 Slaughters, but it's a $10 oversized book with a bunch of short stories. Basically, each story is a day in the life of Deadpool, and I'm assuming he slaughters somebody. $10 is just too rich for my blood. I'll read it on Marvel Unlimited in 3 months. It'll take me that long to get to it anyway, but it made the list because it's got a really cool Greg Capullo cover. And Greg Capullo being back at Marvel is just cool looking. Next up, the Ministry of Compliance, issue #1. I think this is from, is it IDW? Dark Horse? Image? Boom? One of those? But this is written by John Ridley with art by Stefano Raphael, which you might remember as the team from GCPD, The Blue Wall. It's a sci-fi epic. Just kind of looking at it, I've never seen Tenet. I saw the trailer for Tenet. It's kind of reminded me of that. But I don't know. Black lady with a sword fighting like aliens and all sorts of stuff. I don't know. The preview, I saw this, we were looking at this on the Hangout a couple of weeks ago, a month ago at least, back when it was on FOC. And it looks brutal. There's definitely like an image of this lady like cutting somebody's head off with a sword. I probably should have said that differently. But anyway, if you want a bloody sci-fi story, this is your jumping in point. $4.99 on that cover price. From DC, another entry into the dawn of DC where we're getting a bunch of like new titles and miniseries. We were getting Outsiders, issue #1, written by Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly. Or is it Colin Lansing and Jackson Kelly? Kelly and Lansing. I don't know. Jackson and Lansing? Doing too much. Anyway, Luke Fox is leading this new team of Outsiders along with Batwoman, and who I assume is Katana, but she's not carrying a katana. She had like a drumstick in her hand. I don't know. I don't need to grab any more Dawn of DC titles. I just need to just wait. And, you know, they're going to put issue #1 on DC Universe Infinite for free anyway, because they've been trying to get everybody into the Dawn of DC titles. So I'll read that digitally and see if it's worth like, you know, paying for. But all in all, I'm starting to get overwhelmed. There's a little bit too much DC for my personal taste because I tend to not be good at just cutting down the list. So if I don't get started, then I won't have trouble stopping. Outsiders #1 apparently is like a reboot of Planetary or a sequel to Planetary is what Bleeding Cool says in their very spoiler-tastic headline that came up on my Facebook feed. I never read Planetary, so no idea what that really refers to. Cover price on that's $4.99. And the last book that's on the radar, another new #1 worth shouting out, is Superior Spider-Man, issue #1. There, we did a Superior Spider-Man one-shot last month, and I told you this was going to lead to a new Superior Spider-Man title. And that's here from Dan Slott and Mark Bagley, doing Superior Spider-Man. I didn't read the original Superior Spider-Man, and I missed out on the omnibus that came out a couple months ago. So I'm not going to buy this new number 1. But if you are a Superior Spider-Man fan, if you're a Dan Slott Spider-Man fan, it's probably the next logical step in your Spider-Man collecting journey, especially since Amazing Spider-Man is just kind of up and down. But we don't have to talk about that until next week. And that one's got a cover price of $5.99. New Marvel number 1 tax, I guess. But that's everything on the pull list, and a few books that you probably should be on the lookout for, should be on your radar, things that should be interesting. That's it for me. Let me know what you're excited about in the comments down below. Until then, though, huge shout out to the channel family, those that make content on this channel possible. I'll see you in another video real soon. Till then, stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.